Brad Starlight is introduced in the episode The Hero with his own Shrek-tastic storybook. Both tales use an illustrated storybook as a jumping-off point for subverting Disney-fied fairy tales. But one follows a hardened, jaded underdog that needed a friend, and the other follows, well, Lord Farquaad would find fantastic company in this iteration of Brad. In a nutshell, Brad feels entitled to Princess Demura simply because they grew up together and both fit the template of a blonde, conventionally attractive humanoid. They're both pretty, so they're destined to be together, right? The idea that his childhood crush Demura fell in love with and wants to marry a scary, ugly being like King Dracor requires nuance and empathy beyond his very self-centered, narrow worldview. She had to be coerced into such an arrangement, right? Brad himself is molded as somewhere between a He-Man parody and Disney Prince, where both his inspirations are arguably noble, righteous, and uncontested do-gooders. Brad positions himself as the hero without the attitudes and virtues that go along with it. While the episode immediately flags him as an unreliable narrator with little quirks or hiccups that hint at him as a subversive character, Wander and Sylvia take his word at face value. Well, Wander's swept up in the fantasy of rescuing a princess, and Sylvia participates out of solidarity for a woman in need. Within moments, Brad establishes that he's arrogant, selfish, and horribly condescending. He belittles and mocks both Wander and Sylvia. He constantly bulldozes any protests, suggestions, or advice from either of them, steering them towards very specific roles and expectations. Wander is accommodating, taking directions and critique with an enthusiastic smile. He overlooks the more unappealing edges or qualities of the hero, playing along as if he's in a stage play with a nepotistic installed lead, rather than walking towards any real danger. Sylvia puts up with Brad's bad behavior, in large part because of Wander, and prioritizing the welfare of this yet unseen Princess Demura over her own discomfort. Then Princess Demura reveals Brad's ruse and that he's charmed many others into helping him try to free her from King Dracor. The hero is absolutely a primer for what kind of commentary Wander Over Yonder has on gender roles and heteronormative relationships in Season 2. It's telling that someone takes Brad at face value just because he's an attractive man, horrible behavior or no. Demura reveals that Brad's prophecy was a diary he wrote and kept when he was younger. There's some subtext that Demura and Brad may have been childhood sweethearts, and the relationship fizzled out. Brad never moved on, regardless of what their previous dynamic was. He claims he loves and cares about Demura, but really, he's in love with the puffed-up story he wrote exclusively for himself. He expects reality to bend to his will and give him exactly what he wants just because of who and what he believes himself to be. Demura has ridiculous patience for Brad's antics, since rather than throwing him out and banishing him, as she has every right to do, she tries to extend an olive branch. To her credit, she treats Brad with the same respect and maturity she expects to be treated with herself. She's hoping that he can grow up like she has. She honestly likes Brad, holds some fondness for their history together, and opens the door for some kind of friendship to continue. Unfortunately, Brad doubles down and becomes a full-on villain. He's so convinced that what he wants is the only thing that matters, that he'll gladly try to kidnap and force Demura to participate in his fantasy. He has to be backed off with force. Brad's next appearance is in the episode The Enemies. It tracks that the team would have Lord Hater and Brad meet eventually, given their He-Man inspiration. What's really fun about Hater and Brad are how similar their character designs are in regards to shape language. They both have a triangular-shaped top torso, an impressive chin, sculpted butts, and spindly legs. Brad is absolutely what Hater would look like as a humanoid with skin. Granted, there's evidence that Hater was a monkey before he became an electric skeleton. That doesn't take away from how deliberate compliments he and Brad are, though. The Enemies is somewhere between a love letter to and satire of He-Man, but with Wander's Looney Tunes flavor. So many 80s kids wondered what might happen if He-Man ever had to team up with or work with Skeletor. Here, that classic what if is played out by two man-children, fitting the roles of one kid that wants to be the hero, and the other is a villain. They've played together before, but only one can win. Only one man can get his way, and he'll fight slap, tease, and blow raspberries until the other one capitulates. Hater and Brad are similar enough that they clash, but the biggest difference is that Hater owns he's the bad guy and wants to be the bad guy. Brad still earnestly believes he's a valiant hero, even though his actions, motives, and demeanor are villainous. He'll argue with anyone that says he isn't a hero. Hater and Brad tentatively team up to destroy their dreaded nemesis, Wander. Even Hater's and Brad's respective dynamic with Wander reflect the differences between their worldviews and perspective. Wander actively tries to befriend and nudge Lord Hater towards redemption. He's also the most active threat to Hater's conquering efforts besides Lord Dominator. In contrast to Hater, Wander still sees Brad as a good guy and believes that he has the capacity to become the hero he claims to be. Brad's conflict with Wander is that Wander is the genuine version of what he puts on airs and charisma to emulate. If Wander is anywhere near Brad's quests or machinations, he forces Brad to realize that he's the villain compared to someone as earnest and honest as Wander. When playing off of Hater, Brad becomes the Daffy Duck to Hater's Bugs Bunny, but if both were incompetent and evenly matched. They have a natural chemistry to the slapstick, Wander chase, cross-dressing, and every shenanigan that plays out. Wander accurately assesses that these two are a dream team when they can actually shelve their egos. They're hopeless when trying to outdo each other, or falling prey to Wander's ornery teasing. Together, they're laser-focused and determined in a way that even Commander Peepers can't cajole Hater towards. Other scenarios that place a good guy character against bickering bad guys usually leads to the good guy talking them into fighting each other or adding fuel to the fire. I'm specifically thinking of KO convincing the bickering Boxbot siblings in the episode Sibling Rivalry to team up and pretend to capture him to earn dear old dad's approval. After Daryl and Shannon decide that, yes, they're an effective team, KO throws a wrench into their newfound camaraderie by saying one bot deserves more credit. It only takes one tug at how tenuous their new alliance is to get them bickering again, and KO escapes. Wander is painfully accepting of his potential end at the Hater and Brad directed Synergy Blade. Wander frames the effort as Brad persuading Hater to be a good guy, but that is his legitimate read of the situation instead of a jab or comment to rail free. Again, Wander still sees Brad as a hero, and one of his life missions is to redeem villains like Hater. So Wander sits in a league all his own as a thoroughly kind, good-hearted person that wants to see the best in everyone no matter what. His dedication to that is unshakable, and this is one of many examples of just that. It just so happens that Wander's read irks Hater, and while Hater declaring that he made Brad a villain may be a slightly more accurate claim, it snaps and breaks their flimsy alliance. I would have loved to see more Brad and Hater bouncing off of each other, especially if Brad was thrown into a mix where it was a full complement of something involving Hater, Peepers, Sylvia, and Wander. Brad would get steamrolled, and it'd be delightful to see him in a wrestling-style brawl for the spotlight. Brad finally owns that his image as the Immaculate Knight, Sir Bradley Starlight, is a farce no one is buying. Instead, he rips off Wander's iconic image as a friendly, helpful wanderer in a stylish green hat, and transforms him into a cool, silent, mysterious hero on a motorcycle. Where the knight announced his presence and passionately declared his intent, the hotshot simply rides in, defeats the Dombot, and poses dramatically for his enthusiastic public. The hotshot is showered in praise, money, and the princesses approach him first. There's a really fun jab at how ridiculous some character design decisions are for the hot alien love interest. Every princess, no matter how exaggerated and cartoony the other members of her species are, is drawn as a curvy, humanoid woman. While Wander Over Yonder has a few characters that fit this template outside of the satirical princesses, this is balanced out by characters like Sylvia, other femmes Vornax, and most femme characters in the background cast. It's usually a very deliberate and purposeful choice if a femme character is humanoid. Look at Princess Demura or Lord Dominator. Here, it just reinforces how little Brad has grown or developed since Demura dumped him. Instead of chasing her, he's looking for replacements. returns. A whole collection of sweet, demure princesses that he'll kiss, but then run off for the next one. He'll be a cherished memory instead of the cad that gets the boot the moment a princess learns about his true character. Brad emphasizes how much he wants to be a Captain Kirk type, collecting smooches across the galaxy. Why not accentuate how absurd that collect them all idea is by poking fun that Brad has a very specific type? He'll never be a man that someone like Princess Demura would want, so he'll stay the Ken doll accent to a matching doll-like princess. So, Wander's starstruck fanboy reaction towards the hotshot shows that any kind of hero steals his heart. Just as Wander becomes a folklore figure through his deeds and actions, he wants icons, figures, and legends to believe in and aspire to as well. When he writes a song about the hotshot and adopts his equivalent of the long flowing scarf, Wander loves the possibility of more do-gooders showing up. Even if their style, approach, and morals aren't the same as his own, he's open to learning from and taking notes from them. They might be trying or employing new ways to help that work more effectively than what he's currently doing. Wander is very confident and self-assured in his role as a wandering weirdo that proclaims, "It never hurts to help." Sylvia is immediately skeptic, cynical, and envious of the hotshot. Given her history as someone that fought, clawed, and dealt with many unscrupulous characters through her life, Sylvia is still adjusting to how open Wander tries to be to everyone and everything. She admires and loves him for how humble, earnest, and warm he is, though her wariness is what tempers Wander's unrestrained optimism and too trusting nature. She's the tough but firm hand that reins him in when she needs to. Wander is a force to be reckoned with, but his efforts are stronger, sustained, and more robust because Sylvia joined his adventures as a platonic life partner. Where Wander doesn't need credit, Sylvia feels like her newer lease on life is threatened a bit by someone like the hotshot. She wouldn't mind getting appreciated. The envy comes in with seeing the Wandering Help thing as a secret, exclusive club between her and Wander. It's up to them to stop forces like Dominator and Dombots. If there's someone new in this space, feels a little less special, and challenges her role as a bold, unshakable muscle next to Wander. Those feelings are something that could be talked through and healthfully worked out, though, if the hotshot actually lived up to Wander's hopes that he's another well-intentioned good guy. What she takes more onus with are the hotshot's materialistic motivation. He's exploiting Wander's existing reputation and image for easy fame, wealth, and attention from princesses. Unfortunately, Sylvia's suspicions about the hotshot prove accurate. It's another misguided rush for instant gratification and glory from Brad Starlight. This attempt is his grossest yet, since he takes what he hates most about Wander and uses it for his own gain. If he can't defeat the greatest hero he knows, then he'll become Wander's distorted funhouse reflection. After Brad's latest ruse with the Dombots, he yet again refuses to take any accountability or change for the better. Sylvia lets him have the spoils and considers that acceptable karma for his actions, when it turns out the latest princess doesn't exactly fit Brad's preferred type. Well, it's initially played out as karma. Sylvia assumed that Brad wouldn't be interested, but the twist is that Princess Remora was exactly who he was looking for all along. There's an ending stinger that shows Brad and Princess Remora happily married, with kids, celebrating their anniversary. Despite a stint as a villain, Brad, looking genuinely content and settles, gives the storybook quest a new light. He found a princess that loves him and shared his want for a happily ever after. So, Brad can be someone's hero at night. I guess Wander did have him figured out. Love redeemed and pushed Brad towards becoming the hero he claimed to be. Only it's earnest this time instead of a bluff. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a comment and like the video. Share it, tell your friends. If you like what I'm cooking up, subscribe, ring the bell, add me to your RSS reader. If you're in a decent position and can do so or want to, I'd seriously appreciate you checking out my Patreon. I upload all my videos there too, and even if you join for free, no ads.